Hi, you're watching Freedom Machine, and today I'm going to do a full service on my Yamaha Super Tenere, or almost a full service. So we are going to change the oil. So I decided to use Motul 5100 final gear oil, oil filter of course, new spark plugs, the rear brake pads and the front brake pads, and of course a new air filter. We're not going to change brake fluid or coolant for today. So let's see. First thing we need to do is heat up the engine so that we can drain as much oil as possible. So we need a 12 and right, that's one, that's number 2. Perfect. And number 2. So you will have to remove the belly pan, of course, to get access to the oil filter. Remember, the pipe is hot, so you shouldn't touch it, possibly. Now, belly pan is off. Now we have to use some tool to remove the oil filter. There are many tools out there. I found this one to be the best one. It will damage your oil filter, so it's good to remove. And probably then you could use something like that to put a new one on. So let's see how that works. So just need to tighten this up, and then we spin it counterclockwise. There you go. Right, that's enough. We'll let this drain for a while until it stops dripping, and then we are ready to put back the new filter and put in the new oil. So the next thing we want to do is gain access to the air filter and the spark plugs. and to do so we need to lift the fuel tank. So to lift the fuel tank we need to remove the right and left panels. Okay, so let's get started on that. The right side is easier because to remove the bolts we just need to spin them half turn probably. Obviously if you have crash bars that are bigger than mine, you need to remove those. On the right side there are also some, I'm not sure how you call them, pressure fit. So we need to push them in with something. And we have now access to the bolts that hold in place the tank. There is one on each side. Once we remove this bolts, we are able to lift the tank. Finally, obviously we need to remove the seat before we can lift the tank, so it's easy. So there are two overflow drain pipes that will make it very hard to lift. So the way around this is to free up the drain pipes from here, right, so that they can slide up. Just remember where they go through. So now they're free, and now it should be very easy to lift the tank. If you lift the tank without doing this, you might actually remove the pipes from the tank, and then it would be harder to fix them. This is one way of keeping the tank up. One big bolt on each side that we need to remove. Obviously you don't need to remove the entire air filter box if you just want to replace the air filter. All you need to do is unscrew these 4 screws that go around the air filter cover. So on both sides you will have to loosen up a little bit this belt so that we can slide off the filter case. Right, that's enough. Also you can see here that there is a connector which we can take off. Let's see. Right, push in the tab and press down, and this is gone. Okay, this is good. Now, one last thing is the cylinder head breather hose, which we need to take off before we can remove the filter case. Well, that came off on its own. It's normal that there is a little bit of oil in there. It's coming from the cylinder head. It's the vapors. Just clean that up a little bit. New filter. Let's put that in. And new filter is in. And put back the cover. Air filter is ready. So the oil is all out at this stage, and we're going to put back the bolts. You should replace this rings or spacers. Should put on new ones. I'm going to risk it now because I don't have I didn't get new ones, but I guess I hope I will be lucky. So you have to put in new oil filter. Okay, so we want to put a little bit of oil on the plastic seal here, and this goes back on like that, and then we can use this one. We use this one because this will not scratch the filter. Okay, I guess this is okay. So we're now ready to put in the new oil, and one thing we need to check is how much oil we need to put. So we are with oil filter cartridge replacement, it's going to be 3.4 liters, right? 3.4 liters with oil filter. So let's do that. So now we are ready to change the spark plugs, and before we can access the spark plugs we need to remove the ignition coils. So this 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So this will be a little bit hard because we need to access those bolts here. The best way to approach this is with the swivel. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I want to remove the connector. From the ignition coil. So we need to press down the tab and push back. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Perfect. Now just wiggle a little bit and you should be able to pull out the ignition coil. And you can see how this is dirty because probably water went inside. This one is better, clean. Here they use some silicone and this is very clean. And then the last one, again they use some silicone here to keep it sealed. We are going to remove all of that. With some old silicone. Just clean this up as good as we can. First one. Clearly some rust from the water that went down. Number 2, we use some adapters here to get in with the smaller one, and this spark plug is just a disaster. Look at that, a lot of water went inside. This is not good. Too hard. Jesus. Again, this is a little bit better. And that's the last one. Again, that's just wrong. This is just not how it should look like. So we're gonna do this the right way, so we bring it up to 13 Newton meter. So that's exactly 13 Newton meter, and we block it. Perfect. So fresh spark plug is it. We have fixed it with some tape so we can pull it out after. So let's see. We will try to keep this as straight as possible. That's 13 Newton meter, and we should be able to pull out our tool. That's the first spark plug. Yeah. Second one. Now we want to apply some heat resistant silicone to our ignition coils. So just any general heat resistant silicone will do. Okay, I will remove the excess now. Okay. And now we want to put some silicone to the inside. Perfect. So that's the first one. That goes in. And first bolt goes in. Perfect. In this case, this rubber part doesn't want to slide down, so I guess it's already sealed. I just put a little bit around here. Just make sure that it really doesn't leak down. Now we put back the connectors. One until they click. Two. Three. And four. And that's it for the spark plugs. So I will now change the final gear oil. Just make sure that you remove the fill up cap first, just to make sure you can get it off before you actually drain the oil. So let's start with this one. Okay. So this one, the drain top, which is a 17. Okay. Obviously the bike needs to be on the center stand to do that, and here we have a little magnet, and you can see if there is any piece of metal attached to it, and in our case it's very clean, so the final gear is definitely working fine. So the oil is all out now. We have to put a new ring onto this one, and I'm just going to reutilize the old one. Let's see how that goes. Remember that there is a torque setting for each bolt on the bike. I'm just going with my experience in this case. That's about fine. So the final gear takes about 200 ml of oil. I changed it already once, so we are at 300 ml left. This is a bottle of 500, so we're going to put in another 200 now. Also, if you buy this type of oil here, you will get this long nozzle that will make it much easier to fill up. So you just slide it in and you squeeze. You can go slightly over 200 ml because the excess will drain from this hole. So we are at 200 ml now. And you can see how it starts to come out. So you just let this drain for a while, and then we can close it, and we're done. That's it. And we close this one too. If you are not sure about the force that you should apply, just use a torque wrench. We're now going to change the rear brake pads, and to do so we need to remove these two bolts first. So let's start with this one. I loosened this before, it shouldn't be so easy. And you will see that this one will be much harder. Okay. We're going to grease this ones later. should be possible just to lift out the piston. And this one, if your brakes work well, you should be able to press it back with your fingers nearly. You need to do that to make space for the new brake pads. There are specific tools to do that. Yeah, I think that's enough. Just put it on top of the wheel here, tire. Now we can slide this ones off. And as you can see, they're still in quite good condition. I'm going to replace them anyway. I'll put these ones aside. I replace them because we are going on a long trip and I just want to have everything 100%. I will use them again when I come back from the trip. And here's the other one, still in very good condition. These are the new ones. And try not to touch this surface with your greasy fingers. So if you put them side by side, you can see that we still have half here left, more or less. So this is a very important step. You need to use some copper grease to place on all the parts that are in contact with your calipers, because this will avoid the possible squeaking. So we definitely have contact points here. Okay, number one is in, and then for the one in the front it will be a little bit easier because you can just apply it here. Perfect. And then I'm going to apply, well, before we apply the rest of the copper grease, we want to see if we can maybe grease this part here. I don't really have a recommendation for grease. I'm using moly grease in this case. Now we want to put a little bit of grease here where the slave cylinder is applying pressure. And then to apply some more here. Perfect. Then put the pins back in. Again, there will be a specific torque setting for this one. I just use my experience here. But if you have any doubt, use the manual, service manual. Also remember to apply some thread locking glue. So let's change from front brake pads. To do so we need a 12, and we need to unscrew these two bolts. They're going to be quite hard. Number one and number two. So you can wiggle this around a little bit. Okay, it's coming off. So that's not good. We have this one that is more used than the other one. So there was some uneven wear, and that could be because of the stuck slave cylinder. Let's see what happens. This one moves in quite easily. Same goes for this one. Yep, they all move quite easily, so it could just be bad installation. So they won't come out yet because there are two little pins that we have to pull out. One and two. At this stage we should be able to slide out this pin. Perfect. And then we are able to remove the pads, and that pin goes through this hole. Pad number one. So the pads will be sliding against these two parts here. So to reduce the noise that the brake could eventually produce during operation, we put some copper grease in all the contact points. Find the right angle to show this to the camera now. So this pin has to slide through. Part number 1, and then we need to make sure that it slides through that sort of spring. So press here. And eventually go through. And maybe not. Okay, went through, and then through the second pin. Okay, and then we can put the two retainers back. Number 1, and then on the other side, number 2. Okay. And this is pretty much done. Now just apply the little back. Let's see. Okay, we need to remove this. Okay, and then the 2 bolts. You can apply some locking glue to the bolts so you make sure they don't come off. it's going to be exactly the same on the other side. So if you want to replace only the brake pads, just remove this little spring plate. So to do that you need to remove this pin. This pin is held in place by 2 retainers. So remove the 2 retainers, remove the spring plate, remove that pin, pull out the brake pads, add copper grease in all the contact areas and put the pads back in, the new pads back in, and then just make sure that this middle part of the spring goes underneath the pin before you slide it in. Okay, so you can see you just need to remove pin number 1, spin this up a little, pin number 2, these are the 2 pins, then you can slide through the entire pin. This comes out, and here you have the brake pads, and just simply slide them out. You could literally change your brake pads within minutes. This was a full service of my Yamaha Super Tenere, almost full service. I hope this will be useful to some of you, and if you like this video, please subscribe and put thumbs up. Thank you very much. To the next one.